Are you an optimist or a pessimist?
I am an optimist.
Why?
Why am I an optimist?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's undeniable beauty. No matter how dark things become, there's still beauty in circumstances. And there's beauty even if you're not personally in contact with it at that moment of your suffering.
How can we effectively relate to the past in a way that sustains optimism?
I think something that's really important is to make suffering meaningful. And that's not to glorify suffering, but that's to treat suffering with a degree of respect so that it's like properly metabolized, it's properly learned from, and in that metabolizing from it, you kind of release it, and the learning from it is accomplished to such a degree that it doesn't need to be relived.
Is there a way that we can like concretely memorialize the past in such a way that is more conducive to that, like working through suffering?
I think to create something from it. I think art making is really important. I feel that emotion or experience that's never processed can be some of the most poisonous ones because body processes them in unconscious ways, either through destructive behavior or just pain in various incarnations. That's why I feel like expression of suffering through art is very important.
Mm-hmm. What is it about the creative act that you think is conducive to that?
It's an externalization. You know, you're taking something that was born inside of you and you're putting it out into the world so that whatever is toxic or painful in it is no longer in your body and you're released from it.
That was great.
Incredible.
Yeah. Lately, I've been having a lot of trouble, like reconciling and recognizing the difference between repression and release.
Well, I think you can feel the difference. You know, repression feels painful. You know, it's a pinching. It's you're pinching yourself off. You're holding yourself in. Release is a catharsis. It's an emptying out. It feels better. I feel like the difference lies in how you feel as a result of it.
All right. Are you someone who represses?
I feel like we all do in some ways, and sometimes it's not appropriate to express what you're feeling, or at least maybe it's not appropriate to verbalize it or to express your feeling to the person who elicited that feeling. But I feel like that's part of being human. That's the primary project of being human, is to just feel through your experiences.
Yeah. And yet, you know, how do we carry them?
How do we carry them?
It's been interesting to think about, like, say, for example, like what about weed makes it so appealing to people writ large? And I mean, apparently, very literally, the purpose of the cannabinoid receptor in animals is to allow the brain to forget the pain that the nerve center is like reflexively processing in such a way that the animal can continue to walk. But
yeah, and that's necessary, you know? So there's nothing wrong with that. We all need relief. You know? Sometimes the way to hold pain is not to hold it. Sometimes it's inappropriate to be so consumed with your pain that you prolong it. I don't really know the answer to all of this, you know? It's so personal, it's so case by case, and there's so many moving parts of this human experience. I think we're all just trying to have a sense of wholeness and a sense of well-being in the world. And
Okay, that one's fucking funny.
I don't feel like we ever fail in that process. I feel like it's just a matter of learning in different ways.
Apple in one hand.
What does wholeness look like to you?
I think I know when I feel it.
Can we confront things that's self-evident?
Can we confront things that are self-evident?
That's self-evident.
Wait, repeat that?
Can we confront something as self-evident as wholeness and maybe try to like give it words, give it images?
Oh. I feel like wholeness is not self-evident. I mean, I feel like it can be as much a jarring experience learning to be happy as it is to process unpleasant experiences, especially if you're not used to happiness or if you have a fear of it. I don't know. I don't really know what wholeness is. I think I'm moving towards it. I know when I don't feel it.
Do you think that... How often do you do things to seek out that wholeness?
Actually both. Both. Give them back.
I feel like... I don't know. I feel like I'm very aware when I do not feel whole. Like, I know when I feel bad. And I feel like I constantly am trying to feel better if I feel bad. I'm trying to be happy. I'm trying to allow myself to be happy. There are times in my life when there's nothing to feel pain about, but I cause myself pain unnecessarily.
Like so sad.
I'm not sure. You know, all of this stuff is a process of learning and working through.
Are you one to be triggered?
Am I triggered by certain experiences?
Things, images, places.
Oh yeah, for sure. I have my own special sort of baggage. It's got my name tag on it.
How do you work through the trigger when it manifests itself?
It's like identifying. It's like identifying a sore spot on your body. You know, it's like it's part of like the part of what you contain, like your human package. It contains certain aspects that I think because they're tender for you means that they're important to you and they're important for you to work through specifically. What I've been thinking about a lot lately is I've been trying to like name the things that, like, I've been trying to name my demons, and I've been trying to conceptualize my demons, and I've been drawing my demons, and drawing what it feels like. And something that comes up for me a lot is a lot of self-hatred, and the demon that like looks like that feeling is, and a lot of shame as well. And what that feels like, what that looks like, is this like stealing of your heart, like all these thousands of hands clawing out your chest, or being like a physical chest of drawers, like your chest is a chest of drawers, like a piece of furniture, and all the drawers are empty and everything's being pulled out of you. And so something that's been really healing for me is identifying, like when my demons arise, calling them by their names and looking at their faces, and kind of trying to be tender to myself and try to be loving to myself, when at the same time the demon is myself hurting myself.
So for my piece, what I've been doing is I've been taking a piece of fabric to a bunch of different places, which I feel like in many ways they trigger me. Mm-hmm. You know, the moment itself might have been so ephemeral, and more often than not, you know, what actually occurred is unclear. In many ways, it seems like the only thing that remains in that place is that trigger. Mm-hmm. So I've been trying to, you know, I guess, like, create these memorials with the fabric in those places. Mm-hmm. And what's so funny, right, is that in the process of memorialization, I guess I'm trying to, like, re-inscribe my memory.
I get that. Trying to reclaim that space, right?
Yeah. The more and more I wonder whether we can ever even recall things in the first place.
You mean like past traumas or things you've internalized or your mind has buried?
Not even necessarily, right?
Well, why can't we recall something?
So let me give an example.
Sure.
So when I was 12 years old, I ate this really delicious falafel one night, and it was like a very no, it's funny. No, but it was a very like wonderful experience at the time. Mm-hmm. And it was only after some effort of like trying to recall that first sensation that I can even come to touch it. But the day after, of course, my digestion, as you might imagine, was destroyed.
It's not really destroyed though, because you still had the experience. And something that's characteristic of experience is the fact that it does pass. Experience is not. Experience exists on a continuum, and it becomes another experience, but it doesn't mean that you didn't have that experience, and it's not gone just because you're not physically in it anymore. It still has influenced you, and it's still contributing to you as an entire being.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck that. This is not what it's like here.
I feel like
Don't come here.
that's one of the frightening things about beauty and about enjoyment, is the fact that we are so conscious of, as human beings, the fact that all the phenomenon that we experience will become different phenomena. And what's most frightening about moments of great beauty and moments of great joy is that we're scared that it's going to become something less than that, and we're going to lose that. And maybe that's true, but the thing is, life is constantly changing, and you cannot expect the next moment. And a variety of beauties come to you, and just because they're different doesn't mean that nothing is ever lost.
I just wish I like. I guess I wish it were easier for me to leave that empty space to be empty rather than so desperately try to refill it all the time. And I worry that might actually be the futile part of the work I'm doing right now.
Trying to fill the empty space?
Literally.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think it's futile, because you're conscious. You have great awareness. You have a lot of personal awareness, and I think what we're all doing is we're feeling, with varying degrees of consciousness, is we're feeling out our emotional body. And I mean, I'm no different. Blank spaces ache me too. Like, incredible pain at the possibility of loss, at the memory of loss, at incredible pain. And that's part of what's so vulnerable about joy, and about positivity in any way. But I feel like the work that we're trying to do to develop a relationship to feelings and to your experiences of goodness or joy in any capacity, I don't feel like that's ever wasted, even though it's painful. And I feel like developing a relationship with that emptiness is something else that we have to do. And that emptiness, I think, is less empty than we think it is. It contains other things, but things that we're not conscious of, or things that we've never truly explored. And I think if we sit with emptiness, sometimes it can become other things. But it's okay if it's painful too. It's okay if we can't always sit with it.
Is this Twitter?
Oh, I just saw a headline and didn't read the article.
Is she on another rampage these days?
I don't know. It was from like November 2017.
Oh, word.
I don't know what the context was.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess one maybe alternative word that we might even offer as like an alternative to creation maybe is reconstitution. What do you make of that?
Like, you just take the elements that are already present in your psyche or in your life, and you just rearrange them. I think that's beautiful. It's another act of I think reconstitution is an act of recreation. They're the same thing. They're synonyms. Yeah, And I think I like that word for it because it's like nothing is wasted, nothing is broken, and nothing is without use. It can be used to make something else.
Can you tell me a story about the things we've been talking about before this finishes?
Sure. Story about my triggers or my emotional life or what?
I guess when is the last time that you really had to reckon with this
Okay.
in a day-to-day way?
Sure. I can tell you a story. I think I grew up with a lot of fear, and perhaps trauma is the wrong word, but I grew up with a lot of something that felt like trauma surrounding men and relationships, specifically because my father is a really hurtful personality, and also I experienced some things when I was a kid, like when I was a baby, that are ambiguous to me because I don't have any memory of them, but my mother told me about them. And I guess it's like some degree of sexual abuse, but I'm not really conscious of it or know what it is. I just know that it made me feel certain things growing up, and I didn't know why I was feeling those things. And so I had a lot of fear about men, and I had a lot of fear that men hated me, or men thought I was embarrassing or something weak about being a woman, something to be laughed at, something not to be considered, taken seriously. And that has a lot to do with the way my father is. And so because of that, I had a very difficult time ever being in relationships with people. And so now that I am beginning more and more, and also because of that, I was terrified of having sex for a very, very long time. And it took me a very long time to come to sexuality. And so now that those are things that I'm doing and working through, I'm experiencing so much fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being abandoned, fear of being just like self-hatred, you know? Fear that there's something like existentially, essentially wrong with me to my deepest core, and I'm waiting for someone to find out and abandon me because of it. And this phenomenon of self-hatred, I don't know where it comes from exactly. I know that I feel it, and I think part of it is because, I don't know, I think if the harder I am on myself, the greater the less likely I am to be hurtful to anyone else. You know, if I hurt myself, then it means I won't hurt anyone else. And so I try to internalize all of my aggression and all of my frustration. And so yeah, these feelings of fear, these feelings of pain, these feelings of just being not belonging to the world, feeling like the greatest freak in the world, feeling like I'm hiding within myself. I know these feelings. These are particular demons that I know. Like sometimes I get the most crushing sadness, this aching sadness and this fear that the entire world, that nothing loves me, that I am completely unlovable. I know this pain. But I also know that this pain changes, and I know that this pain is not to be taken at face value. I know that it's not necessarily a reflection of reality, it's a reflection of something within myself that's aching, you know? And this is the way that my body, my mind, my psyche has tried to conceptualize them. Because I know fundamentally that cannot be true for any human being, you know? Mm-hmm. Every human being deserves value and love. But I also, what's been really important for me to realize is that my suffering is not individual. Like every pain that I've felt or will ever feel, 1,000, millions of people will feel that same thing. And for all I know, you have felt many of those same things. And the beauty of that is it means that I have a connection to you, and that I develop this sort of intimacy with other people, and I can have compassion and love people because I know that everyone has these tender achings in their own hearts, in their own psyches, their own minds. And it makes me love you. It makes me love other people more, knowing that I'm not the only one that suffers. Mm-hmm.